Yeah, Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV, and when they hop on the phone, it's the place you wanna be. Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hi, man. What's going on?
So Aaron and I went to Boston for 5 days. We went for my friend from college's wedding, but we extended the trip by a couple of days. And as we're walking around the seaport, that's where we stayed, which is totally different than it was 20 years ago, I had a recollection of something that our family did. Us, the original Goldsteins, the OGs.
Okay. In Boston?
In Boston, for Stuart's graduation, we were walking around the Boston Harbor, and we collectively at that point decided to lie to Nana, our grandmother. Do you remember the lie?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The big lie. We are an honest family, but together we lied without even deciding we were going to lie and having a little discussion about it. Daddy gave us all one look, and we knew we had to lie. And that was because Nana was with us. We were walking a lot. She started to complain that she didn't get to see any sights and that we were just walking. So Daddy was like, this is where the Boston Tea Party happened. And then he looks at us and we're all like, yeah, Nana.
We lied to Nana?
We lied to Nana collectively. It was a collective effort.
I'm not proud of that moment, which is probably why I have completely erased it from my memory.
I'm pretty sure it was Daddy who started the lie. I mean, he would have had to.
Well, let's just go ahead and throw him under the bus. That works.
I'm just saying.
It was his mom, so.
It was his mom. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Mommy would have done it. I think Dad was just like, okay, and she was happy. She was very happy. And guess what? Boston is a walkable city. It's more of a town. It probably had happened 6 blocks over.
For sure. I mean, as long as you could see water and buildings and
at some
maybe
point,
a little dock, there was definitely a tea party there.
There was definitely some tea floating around that area of the Boston Harbor. I'm just saying, it eventually got there.
Did we start yelling, taxation without representation must stop? Well, come on, Nana, pick up a picket sign. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Nana, of blessed memory.
We also stayed in the tiniest hotel room, okay? It's called Yotel.
Was it a Moxie?
No, but I don't know what a Moxie is. It was called Yotel. It wasn't.
They
can't even label it as a motel.
Right.
It's not a hotel. It's a whole new genre called Yotel.
That is not the name. Is that the name of the actual brand?
Yes, that is the name of it, and it's really cute. It's very pretty. It's nice, clean. It's like you're in a giant iPad. Like the TV has LED lights around it that you can change depending on your mood. In the bed, I'm not.
Is it a water bed?
No, but it is a genre bed. It was a medical bed, basically.
No, it went up and down.
It was like a Craftmatic. Yeah, because it's so small, so it scooches back into almost like a couch. And then it comes back forward to be a full size bed.
Oh, wait. So it was not a bed that the back lifts up and down.
No, yeah.
It does.
The legs didn't.
No.
But the back goes up.
Really?
Yeah.
And it turned into a couch?
It wouldn't go that far. It was I'm sure it was a Craftmatic,
I don't know what a Craftmatic is, but
that's the brand, hospital bed brand that you can get for your home.
There you go.
It was a Craftmatic adjustable bed, but they made it look really hip.
So there's other brands I don't need to mention, but like the Sleep Numbers and all those, but my age group has been talking a lot about when we purchase our next mattress to get those quote hospital type beds. And I think it's really because, number one, you have your mattress for a long time. You know me, I had mine for
your last
25 years.
Until you die.
Right. The first expensive mattress you ever buy will be your last. And so they make 2 different kinds. One is actually 2 singles that make a king bed. And so you have to get a sheet around it. But then I always thought, that's good because you can control each side independently of each other. But who sleeps in the crack if you're like cuddling? And I don't like that. So they make a different one where only sort of like the top third of the bed is separated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Imagine a pair of blue jeans or pants, but upside down. So the legs are where your head is, and the top is where your feet are.
But the crotch would be really long.
A very short crotch.
More like MC Hammer pants.
Right, but you have to get special sheets that are divided at the top and together at the bottom,
like
which
those.
is also
No.
I know. But
it's
people,
like the gloves for your toes. You know what I'm talking about?
they're horrible. Or what about
That's
those
awful.
shoes, the ugly shoes we call them?
The
So
sock
anyway,
shoes.
these are the beds that people my age and older, we find ourselves talking about and whether it's worth it. So Alan and I, when we bought our new mattress, we did not buy that kind. We bought whatever, a Tempur-Pedic with, Duo this and cooling magic. And I don't know. I think we have to turn it at some point. But I don't know. We're not ready for that. But I understand people who do get it, because it is kind of fun to be able to sit up in bed.
It was awesome. I liked it. But then Aaron, without, any warning, he would start to put it down flat. And then I had like all these, then I needed pillows behind me.
Oh, so this was all one mechanism. You either were up or down.
Yeah, it wasn't separate. You
Yeah,
couldn't
that's why
choose.
so that's the third option, is you get a bed where everything goes up and everything goes down. But I think that's just asking for trouble and a fight with your spouse.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if look, we have a bed, a mattress we got off of Amazon for $250. So, but I understand why people want this bed. I liked it. I liked being tilted up.
I got to look at that
Especially if you suffer from heartburn, then you want to be a little elevated. And this was perfect. There were a lot of older people staying at Yotel. It was younger and older people.
Oh, that's why they call it Yotel. Younger and older.
Oh,
look at that. I wonder
You're
if that's
clever.
why. Yeah, I like that. Multi-gen. Yeah. Well, the Moxie is, I've never stayed there, but we have one in Chattanooga, and the lobby's very cool. So I shouldn't call it this, but I kind of refer to it as this hookup hotel, because the lobby.
It's hourly.
The rooms are incredibly tiny.
Okay.
So literally like a bed and a bathroom, and almost like the door hits the bed on your way in. A friend of mine stayed there.
Yotel. Yeah.
It's small. And the lobby is not a traditional lobby. It's actually a bar, and you get your key from the bartender. But the whole extended lobby is really cool because it's got all these different places. So there's a place where there's sort of a faux fireplace and you can sit and read. There's also a game area where they've got oversized everything, oversized Jenga and Connect 4 and things like that. So it's a really cool concept. I've never actually stayed there. I've been in the lobby of the one here, but friends of mine had stayed and say they get into the room. They're like, okay, there's not much to this. But,
so I've actually stayed in a similar hotel to this, but it was in New York, and it was that time I was in the that comedy festival in New York, and two of my friends went with me, and we got one hotel room, and we walked in. The guy's like, "Are all three of you staying in the room?" And I was like, "Yes." And he goes, "Our maximum occupancy is 2 people." And then I was like, got real Southern. I was like, "I had no idea."
Wait, are we in New York City?
Oh, I did not know that. Oh, girl.
Bless your heart.
Leanne and Amy Ann, did you know that? They're like, "No, Amanda Jill, we didn't." And so I go, "Well, what should we do?" And he goes, "All right, let me get permission." He's like, it'll be fine. He goes, but it's very small in there. I'm like, "We're okay. We're having a sleepover." And it was so small. The three of us were in like a full bed.
Oh, gosh.
And we cuddled. We did. We cuddled.
Women just can make it work. They can totally make it work.
Especially for, God knows what we paid for the low price of a New York hotel room.
Right. For you can have this very small studio apartment-like structure for $800 a night.
So the wildlife in Boston is much more aggressive than the wildlife in Atlanta.
Wildlife? Why were there wildlife in the middle of the city?
Okay, so
like
I'm going to
bears,
define
deer. No.
Okay, their version of wildlife, squirrels.
Oh.
Like they're like, don't feed in the Boston Commons. They're like, don't feed the wildlife, and that's like ducks and geese and squirrels. I got like surrounded by squirrels.
Did they think you had breadcrumbs?
They did. Well, Aaron and I were sitting on a bench, and all of a sudden he jumps up, and he's like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, "What happened?" He goes, "The squirrel tried to reach into my pocket."
No.
Yeah. He's like, I felt something in my pocket, and I turned around and it was a squirrel.
That would have freaked me out. What's going on with the Boston squirrels?
I don't know. I mean, it's one thing for a squirrel to like run up to you and expect you to give it like part of a pretzel or something, but it was like going in his pockets. So then I was like filming the squirrels. And because I was paying attention to them, they all started paying attention to me. One was looking at me and he was like, I wish you could see me, people who are listening to the podcast, but he's like,
yeah,
like staring back
you're
at
wrapped
me.
with attention. Yeah,
getting
you're eyeballing
closer.
me. Mm-hmm.
And then I looked to my left, and then another squirrel ran up, and then I went behind me. They were very aggressive. Like they wanted to be close. They wanted food.
They've obviously been being fed way too much.
People were not listening to the signage.
People are not abiding by the signage.
Right? Do not feed the wildlife.
Don't feed the wildlife, people, or else my sister and her husband will get attacked in the park.
Yeah, this little squirrel pickpocketers.
Yes.
Like we carry nuts in our pockets? No, I carry them in my purse.
Oh, gosh. All right, I have a question for you. When your kids were little, did they ever watch the show Barney?
So it's interesting that you say that because immediately I think of Barney, like the actual live action show he was a cop.
Barney Miller?
Yeah, Barney Miller.
Oh,
That's where I went to.
That's
I was
funny.
like, why would they have watched Barney Miller? That's what we watched growing up.
That is what we watched growing up.
And I don't think
Barney Miller. Remember Fish? He was one of the cops. Fish. I love that show.
There was one. I had some rules with my kids and TV, and listen, I didn't let them watch the Wiggles or listen to the Wiggles.
Oh gosh, we did.
And then Barney also. I was like, no Barney. I said no Barney. They weren't allowed to watch Barney, and it was because the songs were annoying and he was annoying. We watched Yo Gabba Gabba, which this probably past your kids.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Watching. It was a show on Nickelodeon that was amazing, very music oriented, but like hip hop, So it's like if they're watching it, I have to watch it. I did let them watch Teletubbies and a show called Booba, which was like the Teletubbies alien cousins, because it was
Aren't
like
the Teletubbies
relaxing.
Also aliens? So don't they? Doesn't that make them just cousins?
Yeah. Nana speaking of Nana, bring it back to Nana. She loved Teletubbies.
She loved Teletubbies. She loved Teletubbies like I love Minions. They just made her happy. They brought her joy.
Very similar, by the way.
Well, see, we also had rules. We loved the Wiggles. We actually went to the Wiggles in person to a concert when the boys were little. They were so obsessed. I might have told this story, but I actually created a giant poster, and I cut out a big circle where your head goes, and then around the edges it said the Wiggles biggest fan with arrows pointing to the cutout head where you're supposed to put your head. So I bring it with us, and we got the boys, and all of a sudden I'm like, come on, put this on your face so that they can get you on the Jumbotron. And they would not do it. They wanted nothing to do with my original sign.
Even Levi?
None of them. And they're like, stop it. I go, look, just like this. So I put it on my face. What happens?
Oh.
Immediately on the Jumbotron, me being showcased as the Wiggles' biggest fan. So that was the end of our Wiggles obsession.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, but we did not let our kids watch Caillou because he was the biggest whiner.
He's so whiny.
Such a whiner. I don't know if he's on anymore, but he was such a whiny little brat.
Yeah.
Caillou, you were a bad influence.
He is. Yeah, that's not what I used to call him, but it did start with a B.
Well, we did listen to Barney. I think at least part. There's definitely I can hear his voice, and clean up, right? Wasn't that a Barney song?
So stop. There's a lot. That's not a Barney original. He did not invent that song, by the way.
Well, he made it popular. Let's say that.
Right.
All of this to say that I saw a trailer for a new documentary. I think it's coming out on Netflix, and the title of it is I Love You, You Hate Me.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is all about the Barney craze.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's actually a limited documentary series, and it's chronicling the rise and fall of Barney the dinosaur. And what
my kids used to sing that song.
Yeah, well, apparently there was a furious backlash. And of course, the I love you part is I love you, you love me. We're a happy family.
There's a bad
right?
version of that song that my kids used to sing.
Well, yes. And so Barney, who was supposed to be just this, purveyor of love and inclusivity and, just childhood joy, became the target for hate. And there are like multiple videos where they've now, bastardized that song and created an alternate version that is all about hate. There's like videos of them burning little mini Barney, stuffed
crazy.
animals and things like that.
Who?
Yeah, well, the documentary, I haven't
Who
watched.
was burning Barney?
People were Barney burning.
Wow.
I'm telling you, Barney burning is a real thing. And the documentary, I haven't watched it yet. Not sure if I will. But everything I need to know, I learned through this 60-second trailer, which is that we are a society that is prone to hate, right? And I say this in our training for the nonprofit I run, which is what I always ask kids, because I learned this from a former director of a Holocaust center, which is, what's easier? Is it easier to love or to hate? And 99% of the time, kids, adults, people say it's easier to hate. It just is. It's easier to gossip. It's easier to demean. It's easier to find fault. It's easier to criticize. So it's an uphill battle, literally, to love. And Barney, the purple dinosaur, is evidence of that. So it's about how this creature of love turned into and created a culture of hate around him. And I think it's, number one, it's tragic. But it's also, it's fascinating. I mean, the title says it all. I know exactly what it was going to be about.
I wonder if it goes through other childhood characters that people love to hate, I had a friend when I lived in New York who really loved Steve from Blue's Clues. And I mean, literally, because they dated.
No.
Yeah. And I went out to drinks with them and it was very weird.
Come on.
It was very weird. I feel bad for that guy because you could never unsee Steve from Blue's Clues, like you're out with him and he's Steve from Blue's Clues. Like she, I'm sure, was making out with him and it was still Steve from Blue's Clues.
So our friend's daughter went to college with the young woman who was the voice for Dora the Explorer.
Oh.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? How she must have been harangued at college. Like, do you have your backpack?
That's it. Unless she was undercover about it.
She could have been, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like my friend Jessica, who is a reporter for CNN. CNN had this whole series about the Atlanta airport, and she was covering like the Delta terminal and the voice of the Delta terminal. And she was interviewing this woman. And as a joke, she said, when she was talking about her other work, she said, well, you're not also the voice of Siri, are you? And she said, yes, I actually am. And you're the first person who I've told. I usually don't tell anyone about that, especially, or I've never told a reporter. So she like, oh my God. Not that it was like an undercover sting operation and people were trying to find the voice of Siri, but I thought that was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
But that's something that she wanted to keep a secret because she also didn't want to be, I'm sure, pigeonholed as this is the voice you do. It's so predominant.
Well, speaking of shows that we used to watch, Levi is our youngest. He's been fascinated by this idea of the media and its influence on society, and not just today where we think of social media and all of that. But he's reading this book, really, that was from 1980s, and about the cultural relevancy and impact of media on our lives. And so at dinner the other night, he said, what shows did we watch as a family that could have been considered more adult oriented or adult topics? And we couldn't even think of any, like when they were kids.
Oh,
what shows did you watch with your kids?
I'll tell you this much. We watched so much television with the kids that may or may not have been appropriate for them that Murray walked away from at Layla's bat mitzvah. The guy did like TV trivia. Murray walked away with $30 because of his TV knowledge.
Okay, so I can't think of one show we watched with the kids.
The Simpsons.
Okay,
that is
watch that.
100%. It's an adult show.
Yes.
Right, and it had topics. It has topics that are very adult oriented and serious, even though it's it's a parody of things. It's satirical. It has pop culture mentions.
No, we
in
get
it.
it.
Constantly.
We all know the Simpsons. We get it. But what else?
Also the Flintstones.
Come on. The Flintstones does not count as an adult show.
But it did back then. It was a primetime show. I guess it was more family oriented. Okay,
The
all these shows.
Flintstones. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it was a primetime show.
Let me put this into some context for you, though. When I think about the shows that I watch, and I assume you watch too, just
Yeah.
growing up, I couldn't stop naming shows. I went to bed and then I got out and I started yelling downstairs more shows that I
Miami
watched.
Vice. Yeah.
Miami Vice was top, right?
Dynasty.
Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
Saint Elsewhere.
But we don't
Mork and
have-
Mindy.
we
I mean,
didn't-
like all these things. Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
The What's
Cosby
Happening.
Show.
Cosby Show was
But that's
huge.
not an adult show. That's a
No.
family show. If you're really gonna Cosby Show, Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, I would say those are more family.
They are, but
Hill Street
like
Blues.
anything, there were nuances that adults picked up on that we probably didn't.
Oh, New Girl.
The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, those
Yeah.
were adult shows.
I did watch New Girl with the kids. That's not. They were asking me like, "Oh, what's an orgasm?" when they
Oh,
were like
God.
7.
Okay,
I was
well,
just like, I don't know.
you clearly went down. You know, we just realized we really did watch a lot of kids shows. We watched more shows of their like generation with them than our shows with them because frankly I was watching, I mean when I think about when my kids were little, I was watching Sex and the City and The Sopranos
Yeah.
and Entourage. I was watching a lot of HBO shows and none of that, Friends, Seinfeld, things like that, like before they were born. They now watch those shows, The Office, but I never watched those kind of shows with my kids.
So here's the thing: the difference between, well, you didn't have this problem because you had a giant TV where you had live TV, right, in your living room,
Right.
versus ours is a smart TV, which we didn't have until recently. But so the kids were consuming content on iPads for
Right.
their childhood, or they were watching it in the car, whatever was available at Redbox on family trips, on family road trips. So that's how we've consumed media. It's not, we never sat down and turned on live TV, which usually that time, the prime time on television, is either family viewing or it's something inappropriate.
Right.
Right. But now we choose. We choose what we watch. We decide together. And Murray put on last night, he's like, after Break the Fast, he's like, oh, can I put on a movie for all of us to watch? And he put on The Green Mile.
Oh,
And-
that's a good one.
And I was like, oh, he's like, Mom, have you seen it? I go, is this the one with Eminem?
Oh
He's
gosh.
like, no.
No,
No.
not exactly. Not exactly. Close. No, not even close.
9 Mile, I think, is the Eminem one.
Well, the only show like we could really think of collectively that we watch together that's considered quote adult are game shows because we are obsessed with Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. But Levi said those don't count. I said, why don't game shows count? Because game shows were a huge part of my upbringing, our upbringing too. But the funny part is I listed so many shows that we watched when we were growing up. I mean, I just kept listing them. Like Archie Bunker, The Jeffersons, What's Happening. Like they were just spanning, like you said, MASH. I mean, talk about something. I was
Oh,
watching
yeah.
MASH when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I was always up
I
at
loved
night.
MASH.
Starsky and Hutch, Emergency. I mean, all these shows, hopefully people are nodding going, oh my gosh, it makes you
Saint
remember.
Elsewhere.
Saint Elsewhere. But it also makes you remember, first of all, I know all of the theme songs to all of these. Family Ties, Who's the Boss, right? Silver Spoon. I mean, all these, they just kept going on. And I couldn't even think about what were the shows that were relevant for our kids the same way. And, they were like Zach and Cody. I'm like, that's a kid's show though. Some of these, or
Oh, the
iCarly.
Disney.
We were watching a lot of Disney
Because
with
we
them. Yeah.
had 3 channels.
Correct.
They
Correct.
have 300.
And that's it. That's it.
3,000.
Right.
There's so many to choose from, and everyone's got their own device.
Yeah.
So you don't have to watch together.
And we had VCRs, but they had DVD and then eventually on demand. And now, of course, iPads and really on demand.
Poor TiVo. What happened
Poor
to TiVo?
TiVo just died.
Like
a quick
Net-
death.
Netflix totally pivoted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Totally pivoted. Blockbuster. TiVo.
Poor Blockbuster.
I mean, why didn't TiVo and Blockbuster get together and have a baby? I don't know. If they had done that, then maybe they would be alive today.
Do you know how much time I spent at Blockbuster on a Friday afternoon going like from row to row to row trying to figure out what movie to watch for that weekend? Literally. I mean, I could spend an hour in there and all of a sudden get a movie and Alan would say, we already watched that. I'm like, great. So I'd start over. And then, of course, the movies we wanted were always gone and rented. And oh, my gosh.
So here's the thing. I didn't do that.
You never went to Blockbuster?
Not with Aaron. You're saying you did that with Alan?
Yes, when we were first married. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't
And
do
even
that.
beyond. Oh,
We did. We were Netflixing.
that's
we
amazing.
We were getting
You were already Netflixing and chilling?
but we were getting the discs in the mail from Netflix because that's how they started off.
Wow.
And then they pivoted. Wait, no, wasn't it? Was it
Not
Redbox?
No, Redbox was always a place
it was
where you went.
Netflix, right? Where you'd get the disc in the mail. Netflix. They did that.
Who was the company that sent out DVDs that you bought?
AOO. Like
when I was in college.
Oh, you'd get you'd join a club.
Yes,
and then
you'd
you'd
join the
have
club.
to order.
You'd get the CDs.
And then they had like the creditors calling you if you didn't
gosh.
pay. They did start off with like cassettes. It was like
because it was like 3 cents.
Cassettes for 10 cents.
Yeah, first it was like 5 cents. Now, ironically, those are how much they're worth. They're like worth 5 cents. I could sell my whole collection for $1.
By the way, there's a store I made Aaron go into all the streetwear stores off Newbury Street in Boston, and there was this one, and they had like all this vintage stuff in there. I've never seen a contraption like it. It looked like almost like a recording deck or like a record player.
Okay.
And it had these probably 25 spaces where you'd put cassette tapes, and it formed a circle, right? Almost like a starburst. So it was like your own personal jukebox that played. It was like the 20 disc. It was like the 20 disc CD player, but for cassette tapes.
I need that.
And I said I need that, and they said it stopped working. I go, you need to get that fixed. But the funny thing is the only way to listen to it was you had to like plug in those giant earphones into it. So then you were like had to sit next to it. I'm sure you could hook it up to the speaker somehow.
Yeah.
But I had never seen anything. I took a picture of it. I should send it to you. I was like, I've got to find this. It's better than a record player. It was like a 25 cassette tape player, and it would do it randomly.
First of all, I still have my boombox, the 2-tape boombox from 1980 something, because I still have all of my cassette tapes. I refuse to give them up. And a lot of them were the mixtapes that people made for me, and people spent a lot of time. That was a lot of investment, emotional and time investment in making those mixtapes. I can't get rid of them. I don't listen to them, but
yeah,
I love a mixtape.
I loved a mixtape.
I want that thing. I want that windy thing, the personal jukebox. But
I know.
I don't want to listen to it with headphones. I just want to listen.
We got to find it. I've never. I can't. It's like one of those things. I'm like, there's probably 10 of these that exist in the entire world. I've literally never. If anyone listening has seen this thing, please send me the eBay link.
Right. I bet somebody can just craft it on Etsy. Those are some very talented people on Etsy. They can make anything.
I should look up. I took a pic. I should see who made it. It was probably like Panasonic. You know what I mean?
Right. RCA. That's amazing. Well, finally, I'm obsessed with the show Shark Tank. And on the newest episode, they had something that I was going to buy for you, except they didn't get a deal. So now I'm not going to buy it for you. It's probably even shocking that I was going to buy it for you, even if they did get a deal. But it is, and this is why I thought of you, a phone in the shape of a fill in the blank.
Banana.
Exactly. I'm like, the only person I know who would love and appreciate this is Amanda.
It was not on Shark Tank.
Yeah. It is a banana phone. And
why would that be on Shark Tank?
Because they are trying to get a deal to sell this stupid contraption. Proof that everybody has already invented everything you could ever think of and ignored. But they, it's that old, you see people holding up a banana pretending it's a phone, and they're trying to make talking more fun. So it's really not.
They're trying to make talking more fun.
I guess so. Yeah. Bring back fun in talking. I don't know whoever
like
thought talking was fun. Yes.
A banana would do that for you.
And it's actually not a real
sad
phone.
Conversation.
Right. It's really just a device that has Bluetooth technology. So you still have to have your phone, but now here's the play on words. You have to connect your Apple to your banana.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. So then it's got Bluetooth and you can use it as a speaker. So it is a little multifunctional, but it was so stupid. All of the sharks were basically like, yeah, this is the stupidest thing we've ever heard of. Goodbye.
They have to put that stuff on there too, though. It's like, so you think you can dance and the voice and the whatever, America's Got Talent, like
Right.
all that stuff. They stick people on there who don't have talent
I know.
just so the judges can poo-poo it. But you know what? Good for the banana phone people because they probably saw a rise in banana phone sales.
I bet. No. Yeah, that Shark Tank effect. I bet everybody's now buying that stupid banana phone, including possibly me. We'll have to see about Hanukkah. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Well, evidently Oscar's been watching Shark Tank because every day he's like, have you heard of the Scrub Daddy?
Oh, that was a very popular and successful
Right.
item.
I know. Now it's everywhere now. It's Costco, the grocery stores. And I said, yes, we've gotten Scrub Daddy before. And he said, well, I think you should buy it again because it did really well in Shark Tank.
There you go. A man after my own heart.
Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis Tell podcast. Don't forget to share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your foes. And you can do that using your banana phone.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.